Ray stood in the middle of the burning battlefield, feeling the ground shake under his boots. Smoke covered the sky like a dark blanket, and the smell of metal and fire filled his lungs. Humans were losing the war again. Ships fell from the sky one after another, breaking apart before they touched the ground. Ray had only joined the war 3 months ago, yet he already felt like he had lived a lifetime inside this chaos. He held his damaged helmet in one hand and his cracked rifle in the other, knowing this day might be his last. He was not a hero, not a special soldier. He used to be a simple mechanic who fixed old engines and repaired farming machines. When the war came to his planet, he joined because he did not want to hide. He wanted to help his people survive. But now, surrounded by explosions and fading radio signals, he wondered if he had made a mistake. His unit was gone. He was alone. The enemy forces were closing in like a storm. Then something happened that made the entire battlefield freeze. For long shadows stretched across the ground from the hill behind Ray. The air became strangely quiet, as if the world was holding its breath. Ray turned slowly, thinking enemy commanders had arrived to finish him. But what he saw made his heart stop. 4 tall figures stood at the top of the hill, each one wearing shining royal armor from a different alien kingdom. Their capes moved with the wind. Their eyes glowed with ancient power. Everyone in the galaxy knew who they were. They were the 4 princess commanders, each one strong enough to lead armies alone. Normally they never traveled together, but here they were, standing side by side, staring at Ray. Human soldiers hiding far away lifted their heads in shock. The enemy troops also paused, confused. Why were the 4 royal princesses here? Why were they looking at a single human soldier? Ray felt his chest tighten. He did not understand what was happening. His hands shook as he lowered his rifle. The princess with silver armor stepped forward first, her hair glowing like moonlight. She walked down the hill slowly, her eyes locked on Ray. Another princess followed, wearing deep blue armor that shimmered like ocean waves. The third wore bright gold, and the last wore dark red armor filled with glowing lines of energy. Ray could not move. His legs felt heavy. The 4 princesses walked toward him with steady steps. They did not raise their weapons. They did not act like enemies. They looked at him with something else, something intense and unexplainable. When they reached him, something unbelievable happened. All 4 princess commanders fell to one knee in front of Ray. The entire battlefield gasped at the same time. Humans, aliens, soldiers, drones, everyone froze. No one had ever seen alien royalty kneel before anyone, especially not a human soldier covered in dust. The silver-armored princess placed her blade into the ground. Her voice echoed across the battlefield as she said, "We swear eternity to you." Ray's eyes widened. His spine felt cold. He took a step back, but the princesses looked up at him with strong, calm expressions. They spoke in unison, their voices powerful and clear. "We pledge our lives, our loyalty, and our command to the human named Ray." Ray felt his heart pounding so loudly he could barely breathe. He did not know these women. He did not know why they were doing this. He had lived his entire life fixing engines, not leading armies or receiving royal vows. Behind him, human soldiers stared in disbelief. Some dropped their weapons. Some whispered that this must be a trap. But Ray could see the truth in the princess's eyes. They were serious. They were sincere. Something about him had called them here. The ground shook again as enemy forces started moving, unsure whether to attack or retreat. Ray swallowed hard, feeling thousands of eyes watching him. He whispered, "Why me?" None of the princesses answered. But their expressions said everything. His life was no longer simple. The galaxy had changed the moment they knelt, and Ray realized he had stepped into a destiny he never asked for, but could not escape. Ray stood frozen as the 4 princess commanders remained kneeling before him. The battlefield around them buzzed with shock. Human soldiers whispered in disbelief, while alien fighters stared with confusion and fear. Ray felt his throat tighten. He had no idea what he had done to cause this. He was not special. He was not a hero. He was just a man who fixed machines. Before Ray could ask another question, human officers rushed forward with heavy armored guards and pulled him away. The princesses rose to their feet slowly, their calm expressions never changing. Their eyes followed Ray as he was escorted to a damaged human transport ship. Every step made Ray feel like he was walking deeper into a mystery he did not want but was already trapped inside. Inside the ship, dozens of officers surrounded him. Some stared at him with suspicion, others with confusion, and a few with hope. Ray sat on a metal bench while the ship lifted off the battlefield. His hands shook slightly as he placed his broken helmet beside him. The officers whispered loudly about him. They said he must be part of some prophecy. They asked if he had alien blood. They wondered if he had triggered a hidden weapon. Ray only knew one thing: he had done nothing. He was as normal as anyone else. He felt lost. He felt scared. But most of all, he felt watched. An hour later, the ship docked with a large human war carrier. Ray was taken to an observation chamber at the center of the ship, filled with screens showing the galaxy map. Human generals argued loudly. Some believed Ray was a threat. Some believed he was a miracle. No one could agree. Then the alarm sounded. For boarding signatures appeared on the security screen. The princess commanders had arrived. Ray felt a wave of nervous energy as the chamber doors opened. The princesses entered calmly, even though dozens of guns were pointed at them. Their armor glowed with faint patterns, showing their royal status. They did not care about the weapons. They looked only at Ray. The silver-armored princess stepped forward and spoke first. Her voice was calm but strong. "You do not understand what happened today," she said. "But we will explain." Ray swallowed hard and nodded. He needed answers. The blue-armored princess stepped beside her. She lifted her hand, and a soft, glowing sphere appeared. It floated in the air like a tiny star. Inside the sphere was a glowing symbol, one Ray had never seen before. She said, "This is the eternal bond. It appears once every 1,000 years. Only one being in the galaxy carries the energy that awakens it." Ray shook his head. "I am just a mechanic. I do not have any bond." The golden princess stepped closer, her eyes gentle. "You do," she said. "We felt it the moment we saw you. The energy around you is ancient. It is powerful. It belongs to the lost royal bloodline of humans." Ray blinked. Humans had royalty. "Yes," the red-armored princess answered. "Long before our kingdoms existed, humans ruled sectors of the galaxy. Their power kept the universe in balance. But that bloodline disappeared. Or so we believed." Ray looked down at his hands, confused. He had never felt special. He never imagined he carried something ancient inside him. He remembered his parents, his small home, his simple life. Nothing made sense. The princesses continued. They explained how each of them had been trained since childhood to search for the eternal bond. They were not enemies by nature. Their kingdoms were rivals, but each kingdom believed that when the bond reappeared, they must protect it, no matter what. Ray felt overwhelmed. "So you are here, because of me?" "Yes," the silver princess said softly. "We did not choose this. Destiny chose you." Before Ray could respond, the ship shook violently. A loud siren echoed through the room. Officers rushed to screens. Enemy fleets were approaching, hundreds of ships heading straight toward Ray's location. The generals shouted orders. Panic spread. The princesses turned toward Ray as the lights flickered. "They are coming for you," the blue-armored princess said. "They want to capture the eternal bond." Ray felt fear twist inside his chest. He had no idea how to fight an entire fleet. He was not ready for this. The Silver Princess stepped in front of him and drew her blade. "Do not fear," she said. "We swore eternity to you. We will protect you with our lives." Ray looked into her eyes and saw something he never expected: honesty. The ship shook again as enemy fire hit the hull. The war outside intensified. Ray realized the truth: the galaxy was no longer fighting for territory. It was fighting for him. And he had no choice but to face whatever came next. Explosions echoed through the carrier as enemy ships fired non-stop, shaking every wall. Lights flickered. Officers shouted orders. Panic spread like fire. Ray stood in the middle of the chaos, feeling the weight of fear pressing on his chest. He had never been in such a dangerous situation before. He had survived small fights on the ground, but this was different. An entire fleet was coming for him. The 4 princess commanders moved instantly. Their calm expressions never broke. They positioned themselves around Ray like a protective circle. Their armor glowed brighter, reacting to the threat. The Silver Princess spoke quietly, but her words carried power. "Stay close to us. Do not run. Your presence strengthens us." Ray did not understand how he could possibly help them. He was just one human. But something deep inside him felt warm, almost like a small fire waking up. He ignored it and focused on breathing. The carrier shook as enemy boarding pods slammed into the hull. Metal screeched. Soldiers rushed to defensive positions. An officer shouted that the enemy was breaking through. Ray felt his heart jump. He looked at the princesses. They nodded at him with confidence, their eyes shining with determination. The first explosion blew open a hallway door. Enemy aliens poured inside wearing heavy combat armor and carrying glowing weapons. The air filled with the sound of blasters and metal hitting metal. Human soldiers fought back, but they were outnumbered. Before Ray could even blink, the blue-armored princess stepped forward. She swung her halberd, creating a shockwave that pushed enemies back down the hallway. Her movements were smooth, sharp, and full of grace. Her armor emitted a deep blue light that made every strike louder and stronger. The Golden Princess rushed next, her twin blades cutting through the enemy ranks with incredible speed. She moved like dancing light, leaving bright trails in the air. Heavy armored fighters tried to stop her, but she slid past them effortlessly. Every hit sent sparks flying. The Red Princess roared, her voice echoing like thunder. Flames exploded from her armor as she charged. Her fists broke enemy shields like they were paper. Each punch created a small blast of heat, forcing enemies to fall back in fear. The Silver Princess stood closest to Ray, blocking any attacker who tried to reach him. Her silver blade glowed with gentle light as she parried every strike. She fought with calm precision, each movement controlled and protective. Ray watched in shock. He had never seen anything like this. The 4 princesses were stronger than any soldiers he had ever known. Even though they came from rival kingdoms, they moved like one unit. Every time one attacked, the others created openings. Every time one defended, another countered. But Ray noticed something more. Each time they looked at him, their eyes grew brighter. Their movements became sharper. Their attacks grew stronger. It was like they were drawing energy from him. While Ray watched, an enemy soldier aimed a plasma rifle directly at the Silver Princess's back. Ray did not think. His body moved on its own. He jumped forward and pushed the princess aside. The plasma shot hit Ray's chest armor. The impact was violent. The blast threw him backward. The Silver Princess caught him before he hit the floor, her eyes wide with shock. Ray felt a burning pain in his chest. But at the same time, a powerful warmth exploded from deep inside him. The energy spread across the room like a silent wave. Everyone felt it, human soldiers, enemies, and especially the princesses. Their armor glowed brighter than ever. Symbols appeared across their armor plates. Their eyes glowed with intense color. The Red Princess whispered, "His bond," it awakened. The enemies froze for a moment, fear filling their faces. The princesses moved with new power. They charged together, creating a wall of unstoppable force. Their attacks shattered enemy armor, broke shields, and sent soldiers flying. The carriers' corridors glowed with bright energy as they fought. Within minutes, the entire boarding squad was defeated. The ship fell silent except for the sound of alarms. Human soldiers stared at Rey with fear and awe. The princesses gathered around him as he struggled to breathe. The Silver Princess touched his shoulder gently. "You saved me," she said. Rey tried to speak, but the warmth inside him grew stronger. The princesses looked at him with respect and something deeper, something emotional. This battle did not just save the ship. It awakened the true power inside Rey. And now the entire galaxy would feel it. Rey lay on a medical bed inside the carrier's recovery chamber, breathing slowly as the warm energy inside his chest pulsed gently. The room lights flickered from earlier damage, casting long shadows on the walls. Human medics moved around him, checking his vitals, trying to understand why his body glowed faintly with energy. Nothing made sense to them. They had never seen a human release such power. The door opened, and the 4 princess commanders entered with silent steps. Their royal armor was scratched and burned from battle, but their expressions were calm and steady. The medics stepped back immediately, giving the princesses full space. Even the strongest human officers stayed outside the room, afraid to interrupt. The Silver Princess approached first, placing her armored hand softly on the edge of Rey's bed. "You should rest," she said. Her voice, usually strong and commanding, sounded softer now. Rey noticed a gentle worry in her eyes. "You took a dangerous hit." Rey pushed himself up slowly. "I am fine. I think," he said, though his body still felt strange. The warm energy inside him moved like a second heartbeat. "What happened to me?" The blue-armored princess raised her hand, and a small glowing sphere formed above her palm, the same mysterious sphere Rey saw earlier. She lowered it so he could see it clearly. "This is your truth," she said. "The eternal bond did not just recognize you. It awakened inside you." Rey stared at the sphere. "But I am just a normal person. I was a mechanic. I do not understand how this is possible." The Golden Princess stepped forward, her eyes gentle. "It is not about strength," she said quietly. "It is not about training or skill. The bond chooses someone with a heart that can unite. Someone who fights without hate. Someone who protects others even when he is afraid." Rey looked down at his hands. He remembered how he jumped in front of the plasma shot without thinking. He remembered the fear, the pain, and then the powerful warmth. Something inside him had acted on instinct. "Humans once carried this power," the Red Princess explained. "Long before our kingdoms existed, humans were guardians of peace. Their energy balanced wars and shaped alliances. But the last human with the eternal bond died thousands of years ago. No one believed it would ever return." Rey shook his head slowly. "But I do not want to be part of a prophecy. I did not ask for this." All 4 princesses exchanged a look. The Silver Princess then sat on the edge of the bed, her voice soft. "Neither did we. We were raised to fight for our kingdoms. But when we saw you on the battlefield, something inside us changed. We felt the bond so strongly that our hearts reacted before our minds. Kneeling to you was not politics. It was instinct." Rey felt a chill run through him. "Instinct?" "Yes," the Golden Princess replied. "The eternal bond connects one life to all who can sense it. It makes us feel your emotions, your strength, your fear, and your hope." The thought made Rey's heart beat faster. "You can feel what I feel." All of it, the Red Princess said. When you stepped in front of the plasma shot, we all felt fear. When your energy awakened, we felt your courage. Ray looked at them with confusion and awe. Why me? I am nothing special. The Silver Princess leaned closer, her gaze steady. That is exactly why. If the Bond had chosen someone proud, selfish, or power-hungry, the galaxy would fall into ruin. But it chose someone who never wanted to lead, someone who helps others quietly. That is the kind of heart the galaxy needs. Ray felt his throat tighten. He wanted to argue, but deep inside he knew they were not lying. The warmth in his chest pulsed again, stronger this time, as if responding to their words. Before he could speak, the ship's alarm blared again. Officers shouted beyond the door. The enemy superfleet had entered the star system. Thousands of ships were approaching fast. A human officer rushed inside. We need to leave this area now. We cannot hold this position. The Silver Princess stood up immediately. We will fight, she declared. The officer hesitated. We cannot risk losing all of you. And Ray, he is the target. The Blue Princess turned her gaze toward the door. That is why we must stand together now. Ray slowly stood from the bed, still feeling weak but determined. If I really am part of this bond, then I should help. The princesses looked at him, their eyes filled with pride and something deeper, trust. The Red Princess stepped forward and placed her hand gently on Ray's chest where the energy pulsed. Then this battle will decide the galaxy's future. Ray took a breath, steadying himself. The princesses surrounded him like a shield. The time for answers was over. The time for war had begun. The human carrier drifted through space, surrounded by darkness and distant stars. But ahead of it, the sky was filled with fire. Thousands of enemy ships formed a massive wall, stretching across the system like a metal storm. Alarms screamed through every hallway. Officers ran from station to station. Fear hung heavy in the air, pressing down on every soldier. Ray stood at the center of the command deck, feeling the warm energy inside his chest steadying itself like a rising flame. He still did not fully understand the power inside him, but he could feel it responding to the danger. The 4 princess commanders stood close around him, their armor glowing brighter than ever, as if his presence ignited something deep inside them. A human admiral approached Ray, stress visible on his face. Ray, whatever you are becoming, we need you now. The enemy fleet will break us in minutes. Ray nodded slowly, his breath shaky. I do not know what I can do. But I will try. The Silver Princess stepped beside him. You will not be alone, she said firmly. The Blue Princess touched the ship's map screen, showing a swarm of red dots closing in. They came for the eternal bond. They believe capturing Ray will give them control of the galaxy. The Golden Princess tightened her grip on her blades. We will show them their mistake. The Red Princess cracked her knuckles, flames flickering from her armor. Let them come. The battle began with a thunderous impact as enemy ships fired at full power. Human shields flickered desperately. The carrier shook violently. The floor trembled beneath their feet. Officers shouted status reports. Weapons overheated. Engines strained. Ray felt a spike of fear shoot through his body. His heartbeat quickened. But instead of collapsing inside him, the energy responded. It grew brighter. Stronger. He felt something new, connection. Like he could sense the fear of every soldier in the fleet. He could feel their hope too. Suddenly the Silver Princess placed her hand on his shoulder. Let your heart lead, she whispered. The bond reacts to emotion. Ray closed his eyes. He focused on one thought, save them. A burst of energy exploded from his chest, flowing across the command room like a warm wave. The princesses gasped as their armor reacted instantly, glowing so brightly it nearly blinded the crew. The energy shot into the ship's systems, spreading through every hallway, every console, every engine. A voice echoed through the fleet's communication channels, Ray's voice, but deeper, stronger, resonating with the bond. Stand your ground. Human pilots straightened in their seats. Soldiers felt new strength. Ships that were breaking apart stabilized. Shields brightened with new energy, glowing with the same gentle warmth inside Ray. The enemy noticed. Their formation wavered. The princesses stepped forward as one. Ray, the blue princess said calmly, guide us. Ray looked at the galaxy map. He did not know military strategies. He was not a commander. But somehow, the positions of ships made sense. He could feel where danger was coming and where hope was weak. He pointed toward a narrow gap in the enemy formation. There, he said. Push through that weak point. The admiral hesitated. That is suicide. We will be surrounded. Not if the princesses protect the front, Ray said, surprising even himself. The silver princess nodded without hesitation. We will open the path. Moments later, the carrier and its escort ships moved forward. The princesses went to the front battle deck, activating their armor's ancient battle mode. Energy wings formed behind them, glowing like living light. Enemy ships swarmed toward them, but the princesses struck first. Their combined power, fueled by Ray's awakened bond, tore through enemy shields like paper. Explosions lit the space around them. Human ships followed the path they carved, slipping through the gap like a blade cutting into armor. Ray guided the fleet with instinct, warning them of hidden threats, sensing incoming ambushes. Every time he felt fear, the bond strengthened the princesses. Their attacks became storms of light and flame. Then the enemy's superweapon appeared, a colossal cannon ship, charging a beam aimed directly at Ray's carrier. The crew panicked. The beam could destroy the entire fleet. Ray's pulse boomed in his ears. He ran forward to the viewing platform as the superweapon charged. The princesses dropped everything and rushed to him. The silver princess grabbed his hand. Ray, no. Ray stepped closer to the glass. I can feel its energy. He raised his hand. A soft light formed around it, growing brighter and brighter. The superweapon fired. A massive beam of burning light shot across space. Ray's energy burst outward, forming a giant shield around the fleet. The two forces collided. The shockwave shook every ship. The light grew blinding.